We have two children. Both of them were born in Senegal, West Africa, both in the same hospital in Dakar. Our second child, Julia, was born in 2004.
She was beautiful and she was perfect, and within 12 hours, we started to notice that her skin started turning very, very yellow.
Her pediatrician came to me and said, "Mr. Currey, we have a problem here. We're noticing she's got some jaundice, and we're not sure if it's just regular jaundice or if it's something more, so we're taking some blood tests."
When Julia was 5 days old, we reached a real critical point of deciding, what are we going to do? And the doctor let us know that she had 24 to 48 hours to receive a blood transfusion. Otherwise, she would go into cardiac arrest.
I came to realize, I said, well, how are we going to get her to the US? She didn't have any paperwork. She didn't have a passport. She didn't have a birth certificate yet. It takes weeks to get a birth certificate in Senegal. So I called a friend at the US Embassy. Within an hour, he had called in his entire staff to process Julia's paperwork.
I took her, I got on a plane with her, and we flew to Minnesota to Children's Hospital, of where she would receive her very first of 78 blood transfusions. No one could find a solution to what she had. They didn't know. They couldn't find anything in her blood because she had received transfusions, and now her blood was mixed with other people's blood. She had none of her own pure blood. About 3 months into this, Steve decided to call our doctor in Senegal and just let him know where we were. We weren't coming back. And as he called him, he said to him, "Mr. Currey, I have had the results of Julia's blood tests, but I've not had your phone number to tell you."
He faxed over Julia's test results, and it confirmed that she had a very rare blood anemia called pyruvate kinase deficiency. It was 5 pages of tests that he had ordered. And I showed that to her pediatrician at Minneapolis Children's Hospital, and her mouth just hit the floor, and she said, "I have never seen such thorough research in my life." I came to realize over the next 3 weeks that had she been born in the US, we wouldn't have a diagnosis of what she had. Her doctor in Senegal, her pediatrician in Senegal, had the wisdom and the foresight and the experience to test for a very rare blood disease, which 1 in 200,000 people might have.
Because of that man, to this day, we know what our daughter has. We know the disease, and she's been able to be treated for her disease.
I mean, number one, I was sad because this is a genetic disease. But at the same time, I was like, Lord, thank you for allowing our daughter to be born in West Africa. Who would have known that in having children overseas that they were actually going to be better off than had they been born locally?
For 3 years, we really sought the Lord as, what are we going to do? Where are we going to go? We know we're called overseas, but because of our daughter's transfusion-dependent lifestyle, we need to stay in the States. We were with Julia's doctor, and out of the blue, my husband said to her, "Where else do you think we could live overseas where there would be a healthy blood supply and Julia would be taken care of?" And the doctor looked at him and said, "Well, there's excellent care in France." She said, "In fact, your daughter's blood disease originates around the Mediterranean, and there are lots of professors and specialists in France that know about your daughter's disease. Have you ever considered France?"
When a friend of mine found out we were coming to France, he asked me, he said, "Why are you going to France? They don't need Jesus, they have everything." It's the very problem. They think they have everything, so they don't need Jesus. Over the past 7 years, the Lord has increasingly showed us the spiritual darkness, not only of France, but of most of Western Europe. One of the biggest struggles is putting your kids in the school system here, where God is not taught, where Christians mocked, where Christianity is seen as the something synonymous with the Middle Ages, and having our kids in there drives us to our knees every day. But we're convinced, just as we were convinced in Senegal, that the safest place for our kids to be is right where God wants us as a family to be.
Everyone is pretty much very guarded, very much kept to themselves. So you need to find an arena of where you're going to be rubbing shoulders with people, where you're forced to have conversations. So for me, it's been an excellent opportunity because my children go to school every day. What I would say to any parent out there is that I believe the safest place that your child can ever be is in the center of God's will.